Blind Justice presents a hero and a city with secrets hidden by the cloak of night. What's Done in the Dark, the audio drama.
The air hung heavy. 5 men, 5 destinies, intertwined. Dominic and Daniel's apartment, a haven in the storm. Andre, his gaze intense. Irving, stoic and strong. Christian, a flicker of nervous energy beneath the surface. All eyes on Dominic. He had a plan.
Rashad's reach grows longer, Daniel added, his voice laced with concern. We need to act, and soon.
The weight of responsibility pressed upon them, a shared burden. But within that burden, a glimmer of hope. They had each other now.
Ravenhurst, Christian breathed, the name heavy with memory. Remember the old days?
How could I forget? Andre chuckled, a hint of mischief in his eyes. You tripping over your own feet trying to race me.
I let you win, Christian shot back, a playful smirk on his face. Had to protect your ego.
Irving shook his head, a small smile tugging at his lips. You two were always at it.
Their laughter filled the room, a brief respite from the storm. But the laughter faded, replaced by a grim silence. Mayor Rashad's regime cast a long shadow, a darkness that threatened to consume Ravenhurst.
His policies are crippling us, Irving stated, his voice hard.
Dividing us, Andre added, his fists clenching, turning neighbor against neighbor.
Fear, anger, resentment. Rashad sowed the seeds of discord, and Ravenhurst was the harvest.
We have to stop him.
Christian's voice, usually light, held a steely resolve. They had all seen the consequences of inaction. They would not stand by and watch their city crumble.
We reacted in different ways, Irving admitted, his gaze fixed on the table. When Rashad came to power,
he had rallied the community, organized protests, tried to fight back through legal means. But Rashad had silenced his voice, branded him a troublemaker.
I hid, Christian confessed, shame flickering in his eyes. He had used his speed to disappear, to escape the growing darkness. I wasn't strong enough to fight.
I joined them, Andre said quietly, his voice heavy with regret. He had sought power within the gangs that thrived in the chaos, only to find himself trapped in a cycle of violence.
The paths they had taken were different, but now they converged, united by a common goal.
Ahem, we've all seen what Dominic can do.
He nodded towards Dominic, who merely raised an eyebrow.
But what about the rest of you? We need to know each other's strengths. Show me.
His words were a challenge, a plea. They had to understand each other, to trust each other, if they were going to fight together. The room crackled with anticipation. Dominic went first. He closed his eyes, his face serene. Across the room, a couch creaked and groaned as it lifted off the ground. No effort, no strain, just the quiet hum of power. He held it there for a moment, then gently lowered it back down. Dominic, telekinesis, and a few other tricks. He didn't elaborate, but the others understood. They had all felt the brush of his power, the way he could see into their minds. Irving was next. He took a deep breath and his arm began to shimmer. Skin turned to metal, hard and unyielding. His fingers curled into a fist, the metal clinking softly.
I can turn my body into metal. Makes me pretty tough to hurt.
He flexed his metal hand, the movement fluid despite its metallic sheen. A grim smile touched his lips. Christian was practically vibrating with nervous energy. He stood up, his eyes darting around the room. Then, he was gone. A blur of motion, too fast for the human eye to follow.
Speed, I'm faster than you can see.
He reappeared in an instant, a deck of cards fanned out in his hand. He shuffled the cards, his movements a blur.
And I'm working on a few other tricks.
Andre was the last. He hesitated, then pulled up his shirt. A nasty gash marred his ribcage, a souvenir from his last fight on the south side of Ravenhurst. He closed his eyes, and the wound began to knit itself closed.
I heal fast and I'm pretty strong.
He flexed his arm, the muscles rippling beneath his skin.
I can take a beating.
His gaze was resolute. He would not be defined by his past mistakes. They sat in silence for a moment, each man contemplating the power that resided within the room.
We need a name. You know, like the Avengers or the Justice League.
Irving suggested, his tone serious. Andre scoffed.
Too generic. We need something with more oomph. How about the crew?
He paused, considering. Dominic met his gaze. We're more than brothers, Daniel. We're a force to be reckoned with. We are... He paused, letting the word hang in the air. Blind Titans. The words resonated through the room, powerful, evocative. The Blind Titans. Protectors, warriors, legends. They each placed a fist on the center of the table, their eyes meeting in a silent vow. A new chapter was beginning, a new hope for Ravenhurst. The Titans were ready to rise.